Okay, Chinchy, here we go, Chinchy. All right, brother, we're rolling. We're rolling. Hey, we got an awesome guest this week. I am so excited because it's a little different. He's got a beautiful mug, a little different than the baseball players we have. But this guy's a big baseball fan. As a matter of fact, that's how I met him back in the day. I'm going to break it down first, O'Malley, before you get involved. Listen, this guy is an actor, obviously, producer, director, showrunner, comedian. This guy's freaking pretty much a jack of all trades. He's your utility guy. He can do anything, but he's like the star utility player. He's like a Chris Bryant, like one of the best players in the league, but he does everything. He can play every position, right? You've seen him on Glee. He starred in yesteryears where I loved him as Jimmy. Well, that was a great character, right? The greatest. I mean, he's really pretty much been everywhere, right? He's been on Eat, Pray, Love. He's, we were talking earlier. He's been on Concussion. He's been on Sully. He's been on R.I.P.D. He's been with Eddie Murphy and Meet Dave. He's also been a big-time writer on Shameless, which that's an unbelievable show, too. Love that show. Good Place, Justified, Deep Impact, Cedar. It's unbelievable. This guy is the greatest thing going. Snowpiercer. But I tell you what, Chin, he's now the showrunner for my favorite show right now on television, on Stars, is the greatest show. If you haven't seen this show, please buy Stars. Don't be cheap. It's $8 a month.
Say the name of the show. Yeah, say the name of the show.
The name of the show is Heels. Heels. And listen, he's the showrunner. He basically runs the show, but he also plays Charlie Gully, who's an out-of-town promoter. Seems like a total sleazebag, this guy, but my man Mike O'Malley's not a sleazebag. So let's welcome my man, my good friend Mike O'Malley.
I'm telling you, Sean, you're like the best hype man in the business. I mean, I don't even think when I die the eulogy is going to be that long. I mean, it's fantastic. It's great. And I want all of your listeners and viewers, I should say, who watch this, who are interested purely in baseball. I'm just like all of you. It's just that my baseball career ended way, way, way sooner than yours did.
O'Malley, how long did your baseball career go?
I think it went until my junior year. Yeah, but yeah, I didn't. What I was 135 pounds smoking dope. I was not smoking dope. I shouldn't say that. My sons will watch this. I partook in the beer, but not in the marijuana. Yes, it was. The height of my baseball joy was when I was on a Babe Ruth state champion all-star team that. Sadly, we were one game away from going to the World Series, and all we had to do was win 1 out of 2 in those double elimination tournaments, and we lost both of them. But anyways, here's the good news. I knew that baseball was not going to be my future, so I was able to focus on acting. So a lot of people say, "Why? What is your dream job?" Mine, I wanted to be the center fielder for the Boston Red Sox, but when that clearly was not going to happen, people said, "Why did you become an actor?" I said, "Because I realized that if people had to go into a dark room and you'd get up on stage and people would laugh and hopefully, and girls had to pay attention to people laughing and seeing you for 2 hours. So, that was the joy for me."
Mike, can you take us back to your early days? Because I know you went to New York to act. You went to UConn, right? You grew up in New Hampshire.
I went to the University of New Hampshire. So I grew up
University of New Hampshire.
Grew up in New Hampshire. Went to the University of New Hampshire. And really didn't know what wasn't planning, was not one of those kids who, thought he was going to be an actor growing up, was not involved in theater. But, I was kind of kicking around first couple of days at school at the University of New Hampshire. And my roommate, freshman year goes, "Hey, I'm going to go audition for this play. Do you want to go?" And I was like, yeah, I had done so I went to an all-boys Catholic school, and so some of us would go to the all-girls Catholic school and audition for the play again so we could be around the girls, right?
Smart.
There's no theatrical ambition there. It was just clearly like, wait a minute, this entire school of girls is going to be paying attention to us. We need to do this. And that's what, a lot of athletes they don't realize. It's like, while you guys are at practice, the funny guys are going girls, right? It's like, the girls have somewhere to be from the end of school until your game's over, usually with, the funny guys. So I went there and I got cast in a play, and then, you kind of fall into a group of people. But even while I was in school, I didn't think that I would necessarily be a professional actor, but my aunt was an actress, and she had a friend, Laura Henry, who was a great acting teacher. I went down to New York. I studied acting for a couple of years down there. And it's just like anything else. I mean, if you're a person with not a lot of direction and you don't know what to do, show business is a great thing to go into. Because, the idea of it is a lot of what, just being around people. I think that, even how I look at work nowadays and how I look at running a show, which, to be a showrunner, it's basically you're the conductor, you're the head coach of the entire production, is that I am always trying to replace that camaraderie of sports. I loved being on teams when I was growing up. I loved being a good teammate. I loved picking other guys up. I loved having a shared experience with other people. And I think that it's, we talked about this a little bit, Sean. You miss that in your life. You miss that. You want to replace that. I think a lot of guys who retire and when they finally, finish playing college ball or pro ball, and they miss being with a group of people who have a shared sense of purpose.
And nervousness, maybe, and nervousness and adrenaline too. I feel like goes away. You need to find that beating heart, fast beating heart. I feel like, right?
I agree, Rich. And that's the one of the things about that is that there is a shared goal, there is a shared purpose. I think what you're working on a play or you're working on a television show. It's like, okay, every day is all right. These are the pages we have to shoot. Here's our goal, guys. Remember. Always, and if you're making a television show or a movie, you have to always reset and say, what's the story we're telling today? What does the protagonist want? What does the antagonist want? What are their obstacles? What are our goals? Are we telling that story? Are we doing the scene the best that we can? So you feel like you're on a collective, mission together. And then the result is success. Do you get to keep doing it? Are the ratings good? Is the box office good? All of those things or critical reception. It sort of points to whether or not, what you're doing and collectively, engaged in together is successful. And so after I got out of, I studied acting for 2 years in New York, and then you just like anything else, you get an agent. It's like a lot of ball players like, am I going to get an agent who's going to, put me in front of people? How do I get attention? How do I get people to see that I have something to contribute in this business? And, for me, we did what's called a showcase, which is just a little scenes from plays and movies, and you do them on stage. People come and see you and say, hey, that guy's, it literally is a showcase. For a lot of athletes you see nowadays, this is a showcase. Is this person capable of contributing in a way? Does anybody see a spark in what they're doing? And then you get submitted for different jobs. And then not long after that, I got my first show on Nickelodeon.
Yeah, take us through that, because that was, you spent on 3 different shows. What? Yeah. Get the Picture, Nickelodeon, Guts, and Global Guts.
Global
right?
Guts, yes.
Can you tell us what that was like, especially being with kids? O'Malley, you seem like a big kid now. I can only imagine you back in your early 20s. You probably thought you were still 10. So how did you connect with those kids?
Sean, here's why I love you, right? Because you make it look like I have normal energy, okay? So like, I've seen people say like, oh, O'Malley was clearly on cocaine when he was doing No, I was not on cocaine. And it's like, people talk about it. So for those of you who don't know, who are watching or listening to this right now, I was the host of a show on Nickelodeon for many years called Guts. And it was basically a sports action fantasy show for kids. So we put an elastic bungee cord on their back so that they could dunk a basketball. They had to climb a big mountain at the end. And my role was to be, I was to be the Jim Nance and the Tony Romo at the same time. You know what? One of my greatest days was when Jim Nance emailed me. And we had been connected because he did an episode of Yes Dear, and he said his daughter was watching Guts. He says, "Hey, Mike, I don't do a Jim Nance impersonation." And he's just like, I really enjoy. You could have had a great career as a play-by-play man, because I was play-by-play and color commentary both at once. And what we were trying to do in those days of Nickelodeon was to I always liked when I worked, when I was around older kids, when they treated me with respect, when they didn't talk down to me, when they treated me, you always like the cool uncle or the cool older brother or the cool kids in the neighborhood who treat you, like you're grown up. And so for me, as the host of that show, doing the play-by-play. It was a sports action fantasy show. We didn't do retakes. It was a competition show. So whatever the competition was, that's what had to live. And it was just, I had pressure to make it good. I mean, God, it's like, you see some of these, announcers and either their voice cracks at a big moment or they don't call it correctly. And it's just like this pressure, man. I would have notebooks. I'd be like a vocab guy. I'd have all these different words in. And and we're doing 3 episodes a day. And so you're just like, how are you making it unique? Also, what was funny about Guts was that, well, it's not funny. It's kids. And so you can't rag on them. You can't be making fun of them. It's like, this guy's terrible. Oh, my God. How did this girl ever get in this competition? She's just going to be an embarrassment to her family back home. So you'd have sections where people are like going, they're being lapped on the track. And you're like, and there is Emily. And she continues to show her enthusiasm and grit. Well, this is what the league is about. Championship athlete, and people were worrying, this girl is doing terrible. I mean, she's getting absolutely destroyed. And I just had an interview about this because it's like the 30th anniversary of these shows are coming up, and when growing up in New Hampshire, if you fell off your bicycle or you fell off your big wheel, you took a dump. Well, that is not what it means in other parts of the country. I would be the kids would be in the pool, and I'd be like, and Johnny, he fell. He's pulling him. It was like the lamest. Some of these events were so lame. Like pull yourself along a rope in a pool that's like 25 feet across, and I had to make that sound exciting and. The little jets that are about the power of the average jacuzzi are blowing you off the, little boogie board. And so I'd be like, and Johnny, Johnny took a dump in the pool. And then, this is literally like the only a couple times where they had to yell cut. Cut. He's like, hey, you're going to have to do that voiceover afterwards. We're going to redo the event. But we're going to play it back, and you're going to have to do it. All right, you keep going. You keep saying he took a dump. He took a dump in the pool. It's like people in New York think this guy dropped a crap in the pool. It's like talking about Lost in Translation. He took a dump. He took a dump. He's like, no. Oh, he took a dump in the pool. We gotta change this over. Hey, we gotta change the water. Lucy took a dump in the pool. It's so stupid. But people said like, "Oh my God, why did you have so much energy?" And I did look at. I'm not trying to go all Daniel Day-Lewis here, but I was like, I did try to look at the job almost like an acting job, like. I'm a big brother to these guys. I'm a host, and I'm going to play that, and it served me well. I think that it is. Sean, you're a big attitude and gratitude guy, and being positive, and I think that oftentimes when you're starting out in whatever role you have at a particular job, you're not aware of how. People are paying attention to you, to everything that you do. Rich, you probably know this from the days at MLB Network. It's just like this. Everyone's son, right? Every Major League Baseball player has a son or a daughter or a nephew or a family friend who wants to work at MLB Network, ESPN.
So true,
absolutely. Yeah.
Everyone finds out very quickly what kind of influence and connection they have to making that happen. But I think that, for me, even though I wanted to be doing other things, being in plays, being in sitcoms, being in films, and I had contemporaries that were doing that, I tried to look at that job as something there where if I really do this great, if I work really, really hard at this, the people who are in charge, who are pulling, the levers of power in show business, they will, when I go and ask them for help in terms of introductions to casting directors, or I wrote a play, and then Nickelodeon, the president of Nickelodeon, Geraldine Laybourne, she like bought out the theater for a night. They loaned me their publicity department to help promote the thing. These were only things that they were doing for me because I worked really hard, and they, I was a team player. And so sometimes, I think that when you're younger, especially in your early 20s, you already want to be where you are, and you don't kind of realize, I don't know what the dues, and maybe you don't have to pay your dues in the same way. Maybe the entry points are different, but certainly with athletics, it's like, look, the scouts get you in front of the executives, and you get the, and do you work hard? Are you a good guy? Do people want to be around you? Mm-hmm. And so I was hyper aware of that. So I didn't look down on it when I was doing it. And I think that oftentimes you can, right? You can be like, oh, this play is beneath me. I'm better than this. This television show is beneath me. Right. And then you don't do your best work.
I was going to ask you about that literally just a minute ago, and you kind of went into this direction because Sean and I obviously both have friends and family members who have tried to get into acting.
Mind get drunk during this interview?
Please do so. Please do so.
On the kombucha? On the kombucha?
Kombucha. This is straight grain alcohol.
So what I was going to say is I found in my friendships and relationship with people who got into acting, who were going to be an actor, I've seen two schools of it. One school is I am an actor. Like, I'm not doing commercials. I'm not doing, the Wendy's ad. I'm an artist and whatever. And you have other people say that, this is going to be my job. This is going to raise my kids. I'm going to pay my bills. So, the Nokia commercial's not beneath me or this or that. And I don't know why I said Nokia, but what's your take on that? That is there a happy medium? And I'm sure each person in their own right is correct in their own thinking for the most part for what's best for them. But what's your take on it? Because you've been on both sides of it.
Well, I think, I've done a lot of commercials, and I think that there are those who don't want to blanket the marketplace. Although, look, I think that this is not really. It doesn't really matter so much nowadays because it used to be that if you wanted to watch television, you guys are old enough to remember this, but young enough to have seen this, old enough to have seen this transition. Your kids don't, know what it is. It's like you could be in an ad, and then you just be known as the where's the beef lady, or the, what I mean? You could just be tied to the Verizon, wireless guy, you can make a lot of money doing that, but Steve Carell did a ton of FedEx commercials early on in his career, and I think that a lot of people in show business, if they can't make a living at it, they get very bitter. Obviously, you feel as if you have talent, and so you got to make a living, and I think that honestly, no one really cares. Now you may be like not good at, I don't want to do the Dunkin' Donuts commercial. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be the, let's make the donuts guy. That's a different thing than doing a little commercial here, doing a little commercial there. I find that anything that gives you experience in front of the camera, going and auditioning for things, is important. I think that there is, like I mentioned Daniel Day-Lewis, there's some people who are just off the charts, extraordinary, actors who, are just unbelievable, sort of legends in the making, where their talent is so vast. For a lot of other folks, it's, look, I like being in this business. I want to get work, and I'm going to work however I can. And oftentimes, like I was talking about this the other day, Lawrence Fishburne, amazing actor. He met John Singleton, who put him in Boys in the Hood, when he was doing Pee Wee Herman's Playhouse, right? John Singleton was a PA. They met doing Pee Wee's Playhouse. I was talking about Ed Burns, the great actor-director who was a PA in Entertainment Tonight and would save, use equipment on the weekends to shoot his movie and save, film. And there's countless stories like this of people who they were doing anything in show business to try to get started. Now, the good thing is nowadays, for anyone who's younger wants to get started, pick up your iPhone. I mean, it's It's unbelievable, the quality of what you can shoot. I mean, look at what we're doing right now. I mean, even what we're doing right now, which is you have your laptop and you have some extra equipment, but this would have been like, go down to the teleconference center on the residential building, and I know a banker who's the executive vice president, and he'll let you speak to your grandfather before he dies. You know what I mean? now it's it's like, wait a minute, you know somebody in Fidelity who lives in the video conference center at the top of the Prudential Center? How do we get to know that? I must speak to my great grandfather before he dies. You can do everything.
It really is. It is amazing that we can just do something like this and all be on together. It is amazing how
crazy
technology has advanced. O'Malley, I want to go down the road a little bit further though with you. So after your Nickelodeon stint, you're kind of in the business. You got your foot in the door. I know your first gig was. What do you consider your first gig? Like I know people always ask me, "Hey, tell me about your first hit." All right, tell us about your first gig.
I'm going to tell you. So I did do a couple commercials. I did one commercial, which was a Vivarin commercial. I don't even know if Vivarin's still around. It's caffeine pills.
Yes, I used to take those in college.
I was like a zombie at work, and then I got some vibes like, I'm revived with Revive. And then I was like shuffling around papers like the office boy, like, look at Joe, he's got so much energy. And then I had, oh my God, I did so many commercials. DiGiorno pizza. It's like, it's not DiGiorno, it's delivery. We should get all these guys to sponsor this podcast.
We need them.
My first big line was on Law and Order. And so before Law and Order was a thing that every single actor in New York had to do, and there was 5 of them, I'm very proud of this, I was in the first season of Law and Order. And I got cast, I had one line. Lovely casting director Suzanne Ryan gave me a line, and it was 2 days before Christmas, and we're out in Jersey City, and we had found a mafia burial ground, and I had one line. Hey Sarge, we got a fresh one here. Okay. All right. Then for whatever reason, the director gave me this direction where I run around the grave like I'm one of the Three Stooges. I'm like, and I'm in my near NYPD. But so it's late at night. It's like 2 days before Christmas. These guys, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. We're on a cold December, like out in Jersey City, I don't know, part of the Hudson River at this point. At this point, I don't even know what part, but the Statue of Liberty is there. I don't know what exactly. It's cold water and it's cold air. And I'm nearsighted and I forgot my glasses and I didn't have contacts in. And the camera is on a crane.
Oh my God.
150 yards away. And the AD, now listen, I had not, you hear, everyone knows this, whether you're an actor or not. Quiet on set, lights, camera, and then action, right? And then action is when you do your thing. Well, none of that was like the first AD, who's the first assistant director to the director, on these big shots. He's going to give a cue to start the scene before the director yells action to start the dialogue of the scene. And there's 200 people in this scene, and they're moving, and they're all doing their thing, and then the lead actors are coming in, and it can't start until the action starts. So it's like you hear this thing background, which means the extras start moving and getting ready before the action's called. Well, it was going to be a silent cue, and it was going to be just the first AD like waving. Well, I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see them. The scene starts, and like no one's moving, and I'm not doing the thing, and I'm not supposed to say the director, cut! What is going on? Hold on a second. Well, a good first assistant director will always be someone who sort of protects the actors and everyone. I'll check. I'll see what it is. He's not going to throw anyone under the bus. He's like a good bench coach. Like
bench coach, yeah.
What the situation is, but I will not tell you that this jackass who is doing his first job as an actor forgot his glasses and didn't see me, and that's why we have to do this over again, and everyone's going to be late getting home for Christmas. So he comes over, he goes, what? I was like, I didn't see you. And I didn't tell him my glasses. I didn't see. He goes, all right, well, I'll do a cue. So he's literally, the camera's on a crane. It's 40 feet in the air. He's underneath it, 50 feet in the air. And it's going to swoop down. It's like a big thing. And so the first AD, we're going to do it again. All right, sound roll, everybody. And you see the first AD, he's like doing jumping jacks. That's it. Sarge, we got a fresh one. Going around, knock. The guy, and I'm with this other background guy who's probably getting paid like $60 a day. And the actor who's been shot, that we're finding his body, he was like the big guest star that week. He's doing what he should be doing, which is laying dead in the pit. He's not helping us at all. And this guy's got to be 240. And I had like a torn labrum in my shoulder. And we were like, oh my God. I've never lifted a heavier person out there. But anyway, I'll send you a link when we finish doing this so you can have all your followers check out. Sarge, we got a fresh one here.
I can't wait to see that, O'Malley.
Like, if you were to even write it, like if I was to like be in a sitcom where my character was like, I've got one line. And of course, you know what's so hilarious about it? Not hilarious. It's like, it's a big deal. It's like, it's like when if your first game was like Sean went in the bottom of the 13th inning and played in right field, you know what I mean, for 2/3 of an inning. Like everyone, like all my friends, my family, we have a big party. Like when I think about it, come on over. Like, what do you, Mike's one line. It was like I had like hit a home run in my first at bat.
Oh, O'Malley, that's great. 'Cause my first at bat, I got a hit, and I remember thinking, I don't have to play in the big leagues anymore. Like, my parents are in the stands. My idiot friends from college are in the stands. And it was the same thing like the O'Malley party. Hey, guys, come over. O'Malley's got a line on Law and Order. That's how I felt in the big leagues. Like, I got a hit to right. I go, that's it. The dream has happened. I'm in the big leagues. I got a knock. Whatever happens after this is gravy. Like, did you feel that way a little bit after that line?
Yeah, I did because you're moving down there and it's so hard. And look, I moved from New Hampshire. Moving to New York City it's like moving to a foreign country, just the way they do things differently. Once it gets in your blood and you love what New York is about and you have a group of friends there, it feels great. But it's a very isolating, lonely place when you don't know people. And I moved there, 3 months after I got out of college. I loved college. There's no one who had more fun in college than me. Okay?
I did too. I'm right there with you.
And not as much fun. More fun. I was like many may equal my fun. No one exceeds it. And there are 100 people in a court of law who could give testimony. And so, it was like just one of those. I think it's one of the hardest times in a person's life, 22 to 25 years old. How am I going to figure this out? Where am I going to be? Who's my crew? I like to say I was just saying to my daughter who's headed off to college, I said, you're never going to be a 5-minute walk from 25 of your greatest friends ever again.
Right.
And so I was just the transition period out of college into, okay, now you've got to make a living and you got to make money. And, New York City, I mean, I don't even know what it is nowadays, but just walk out the door and throw $20 on the floor. You might as well. I mean, by the way, you bought 2 Subway tokens and a pretzel. And,
so true. It's so true.
Yes.
Right. And so I did, but there were those moments where, specifically later on, a few years later, I got cast in a pilot that David Letterman produced. This was sort of at the height of David Letterman's success at CBS. And I remember, riding back in a car after we had shot the pilot and just thinking, wow, it's like that, the New York song, if I can make it here, I've made it anywhere. I really felt like I had made it. And then about 4 months later, they recast me. So,
oh my God.
I think what's interesting about acting is that unlike athletics is that you can stick around thinking that you have something to offer for a long time. And there's plenty of examples of either people with idiosyncratic styles or looks or character types. You don't have to be the best looking person. You don't have to be the most fit person. You don't have to, there's plenty of opportunities for people who are left of center to be in the acting business. But unlike, if you're trying out for the Olympic track team and there's three guys make it, and the fourth guy, it doesn't matter if you're really fast too. You're not the fastest. You can't, if you can't hit, Sean, you and I talk about this. If you can't hit, thank you very much. It's time to go home. This is a sport where you have to contribute. And I think that with acting, you can hang around for a long time and not necessarily get any feedback and think it's all about, someone else. You really have to figure out at a certain point, what is it that I do? What can I do? Which goes to the question about commercials. If it's commercials, it's this. If it's hosting and being on camera talent, it's that. It's, if you're going to be an actor, then how do you fit? And that's where the writing really started.
O'Malley, I want to go stay on that mindset because I think that's kind of where we're going. You had, you were moving up the ranks and all of a sudden you get cast for the Mike O'Malley show, your own show with a great cast, right? Will Arnett, right? A bunch of different people on there, really good show. And it only lasts 2 episodes, right? Am I correct by saying? So my question is, what lessons did you learn from that mentally, like your mindset moving forward to all the unbelievable roles that you did get?
Yeah. So, think about that. Again, kid from New Hampshire, I think it was 32 years old when I made that deal. And so I was just like anybody who I wanted to do sitcoms. I was a comedy guy. I wanted to, not a stand-up comedian, although I had, attempted that, tried that a number of times and enjoyed it. But that was just a completely different path. I was going more towards the writing actor path. You don't realize until afterwards, oh my God, I can't even believe that I had my own show. It was named after me, and it was when there was only 5 or 6 networks, I think, at that time. And, there's a part of it where, and I think, athletes probably relate to this in the sense that you're playing baseball, you're having success. Well, why wouldn't I have success if you're playing in middle school? Why wouldn't I have success in high school? Why wouldn't I have success in college? Why wouldn't I have success in the pros? Why wouldn't I? And so you're auditioning and you're doing stuff and you see what other people are doing. You think, of course, I should have that opportunity. It's like I'm getting auditions. I'm getting parts. I had other sitcoms. I had a sitcom. I had at that point had a sitcom that was on the WB, which was a smaller network, 20 episodes. And show business is just like athletics, professional athletics. There's farm systems where they groom guys and gals to be, come up next. And that's show business. So you're on a show like this is why all of a sudden somebody's in an independent film that succeeds at Sundance. Next thing you know, they're in the Mission Impossible movie. Because they were good. And then all of a sudden they're a fresh face. And so for me, I had done a sitcom and we went about 20 episodes. I was good in the sitcom. It got good reviews. It didn't succeed. It didn't go another season. But, there is so many shows that don't, quote unquote, succeed because people watch them because they have to have a choice. And back then it was, you can only watch that one thing, right? There wasn't, I think DVRs were really starting to come into play, before, right around the time where I was, doing my own sitcom. But, the hardest thing for that was you gear up for an experience. You feel like it's a I don't want to say a linear progression, but it's like you're progressing to this, you're climbing this peak. Oh my God, I had my own show. And you think you're going to be Seinfeld, Roseanne, Everybody Loves Raymond. You think, well, wait a minute, I'm good. The writing's going to be great. People like me. Why won't it be great? Meanwhile, you're not paying attention to every year there's 40 shows that get canceled. Plenty of very talented people who people are like, that thing stinks. You're not, because again, you're not paying attention to the thing, it's, Sean, when we were talking about, you're getting a coach or getting a team or getting a scout to be all you know is that somebody else didn't call you. You're not listening to them say, this guy's terrible.
Right.
Slowest person. He's it's like people are like, for me, it's like, this guy's not, he's not funny. He's not attractive. He's not, we don't want him. You don't hear any of that. So you think it's just like, oh, I didn't get the job. I came close. Like, you don't know that what they're really saying behind the scenes is, this guy's terrible. Everyone I went to college with, I want to punch in the face. You don't hear any of that. And then you go do your show, and then people start writing that in the reviews. How the hell? And then it's like people are like, how did this guy? That was the whole thing back then is, how does this guy get a show? So many other people who should get a show. How does this guy get a show? And there's only, when you get these successful back then, like now, with his 500 television shows, right? I just did the show Heels, which is the thing that one of the things I'm most proud of in my entire career. And how do people even know about it? How do they even find out about it? I mean, back in the day, you'd be like, all right, Tuesday night, what do we want to do? Well, we're not going to go to the movies. There's not a game on. Let's sit down and see what's on NBC. Yeah. Boom. And you'd sample it. I mean, I think that now, if the Michael Malley show was on network television right now, we'd be we'd be like the biggest hit ever if you looked at the ratings that we actually had then. And so I think for me, it was very shocking to have that public failure, and your name, that my own fault, right, for having my name on it, because people are like, it's almost like, that show is terrible. It's like people say, you're terrible. You're terrible. Right. You're going to go away. Thank God, never come back. Never go away. And, but I think that I had, in part because no one enjoyed college more than me. I had a tremendous amount of friends. I had, I have great parents, great brothers, great brother, great sisters, great, extended family who, and I had great agents. That's a part of it. Is I had an agent who's just like, although this was terrible, one of my agents goes, yeah, you're just gonna have to lay low for a while. But then you do have people who are then on your side and rooting for you, and I think that I find it very interesting when you see an awards show, especially when it deals with Hollywood, and everyone is in such a hurry to get this speech over and done with. When in fact, anyone I think who's standing up there getting an award, there's probably an audience, a massive audience of unseen people behind them that have had to say, yes, you should read this guy. Yes, you should audition this guy. Yes, we think this guy is good. Yes. I mean, there's so many people behind who have to be there for you. And so I think that's because of that. Then 6 months later, I got it was about 6 months later. It was about March of the next year that I was cast in Yes Dear.
Wow.
And we did 6 seasons.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, and you played Jimmy, who I love that show. I love that show. But one of the things was, obviously, that was, I think, what propelled you to another level, Mikey. But one of the things you were talking about today, we were talking about some baseball stories. You're like, hey, listen, in one of the episodes, I got a chance to go toe-to-toe with Johnny Bench. Can you tell us about? Can you tell us? We had Johnny on our podcast a few weeks ago. I can't wait to talk to him about it. But.
By the way, so Johnny Bench, Ernie Banks, and Frank Robinson did an episode of Yes Dear, and that was one of the great things about doing Yes Dear. We had such great guest cast members that would come in, and this is what's funny about sitcom television. It's Ernie Banks, who's probably 30 years old. How much older is he than Johnny Bench? I don't know. Maybe not 30 years, but significant. Frank, and they apparently. So Dick Van Dyke's brother, Jerry Van Dyke, God rest his soul, he played my father on the show, and apparently had welched on some gambling debts. And so these guys came to track him down. And so in the episode, we get into a fist fight and a wrestling match. Johnny Bench, Frank Robinson, and Ernie Banks. My God. And it's hilarious. So even when I think about the fact that I am wrestling with Johnny Bench, later on in the show, I get the fist fight with Gordie Howe. And
wow.
so, I mean,
Oh my God.
like, I'm like, I thought the character I was playing thought I was dying, and I had a wish list, and one of them was to get into a fight with Gordie Howe. And so I go to like so I go to a charity hockey tournament, and I'm just like, and Gordie Howe's just being a nice guy. I'm like, hey man, and he's like, hey, it's really nice being out here raising money for the kids. I'm like, yeah, you look stupid. What? He's like, punch you in the face. Like, I'm just trying to get him into beating, and then beats the crap out of my character, and I'm there like, oh my God, I got beat up by Gordie Howe. I was not this, my character wasn't the smartest guy in the world.
Oh my God, it's so great.
So great.
It is great, man. The things that you get to do, like the fact that Johnny Bench, Ernie Banks, and Frank Robinson, Gordie Howe are on set with him. It's unbelievable.
This is what's fun about doing sitcoms. They're just ridiculous. I mean, the fact in a fist fight with Johnny Bench. I wish I could have gotten a fist fight with him in '75 during the World Series. The Red Sox would have won in '75. That's what I really. It was funny talking to Johnny. He's like, Red Sox fans act like Fisk's home run was the end of that World Series.
Yeah. It was only Game 6. Everyone thinks that Fisk homer was Game 7. Like, no, it was Game 6, and the Reds won it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh. So obviously, dude, so many other things, the Glee and all that stuff down the line. But the one show I want to talk about right now is the show you're on Stars, which I watched the other night in Heels. I'm a huge wrestling fan, man. So like this, when you had sent me the trailer for this a few weeks ago, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for this to come out. And the cast has been great. Can you talk about the cast members and
Sure.
Obviously you're Charlie Gully too, so you're in the show, but you're running the show. You're the showrunner for this show, Heels, which is going to be a unbelievable show. So can you just talk about that, how you did the casting and some of the guys you guys have?
Sure. So I had done a show, created a show for Stars about 6 years ago called Survivor's Remorse, where I worked with one of your old bosses, Tom Werner, and owner of the Red Sox, and Maverick Carter and LeBron James, and I had such a great time making that show and a great experience that Stars called me up and said, hey, we have this project written by this guy, Michael Waldron. Would you come in and be the showrunner? Michael Waldron's working on Loki and writing a Star Wars movie, and we need someone to sort of be the head coach of this project, which is what a showrunner is. And I was like, I read the scripts. It's basically set in the independent professional world in Georgia. So just like we were talking about earlier, there are farm teams. There are not necessarily officially designated farm teams, all of them. There are, pro, semi-pro, where you pay $5 to come see some local wrestling at a local venue. And these guys have dreams, some of them, to go and become the biggest stars in the world as professional wrestlers. And so it's a family-owned business in southwestern Georgia, where these guys get dressed up every weekend and go out and try to become professional wrestlers. And what does it do to people who have aspirations, they have creative dreams, they're maybe in a place where they can't see the forest through the trees, they can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, yet other people, it's like all across this country, you can go to local theaters and see local actors putting on Death of a Salesman or The Crucible or Grease. And to them, when they put on those productions, it means as much to them as if they were opening on Broadway or opening at a major regional theater and everyone was coming in black tie and a big. And so it's the same for these professional wrestlers. You guys know because you deal with this all the time. Guys could be playing in a championship of a Division III college baseball game. It's as important to them, that moment and that pressure, as it would be if they were in the World Series. And so this is in part what the show is about. How do you, if you have creative dreams and aspirations to be a professional wrestler, what the storytelling is about, how it all works, how complicated it is, how much work and effort and sweat equity goes into doing these things? What is the toll that takes on a family, on a marriage, on personal lives? If these guys, when they do themselves, they don't have a whole training room. They can't get platelets shot into their knee or deer antler spray, Germany or wherever they get it. I mean, they're just, but they're they're trying to have their lives mean something other than the day-to-day roteness of working class life. And Stephen Amell, who was the star of Arrow, which went for 8 seasons on the CW. Stephen Amell is an incredible wrestling aficionado, an incredible athlete himself, and a great actor. For those of you who watch Vikings, Alexander Ludwig, who played Bjorn on Vikings, they play brothers, Stephen Amell and Alexander Ludwig. And then James Harrison, the retired
that's amazing.
Super Bowl champ who played many years for the Steelers and one glorious season for the Patriots. He plays a wrestler. He actually looks like a wrestler and is throwing guys out of the ring. He's unbelievable. Chris Bauer, who is people know him from The Wire and True Blood. He plays a wrestler. Mary McCormack, Kelly Berglund, Allison Luff, big Broadway star. We have a great cast.
How did you end up getting? How did you form that cast? Like, what's that like for you to get that? There's some stars in Heels. There's a ton of guys that are stars and
right. So that's a great question. Not unlike a draft for Major League Baseball or the NFL. It's pretty clear who the first. It's will the guys who are 1 or 2. Will they even sign with the team that wants them, or are they going to rebuff them? So Stephen and Alexander were both cast into the project, and their involvement. So we offered it to them. They didn't have to read for it. Based on their prior work, we were like, these guys are great. Let's if they want to do it, we have 2 actors who are, because there's a lot of athletic. We didn't want to do facial replacement and have stunt guys do all of the performance. These guys really had to be athletes doing this stuff. And so that was and then they had to be good actors because all the other stuff, as you saw, Sean, it's, getting in an argument with your wife, your television wife, or, having a romantic scene, or, being funny. These are all things that they had to do just as well as doing, if not, more so than the wrestling. And it had to be believable. Everyone else in the cast had to audition. I'm sorry, forgive me. Mary McCormack, who she's West Wing, In Plain Sight. I don't know if you ever watched that show, In Plain Sight. She's amazing. K Street. She's been around a long time. Played Howard Stern's wife in Private Parts, the movie about his life. Excuse me. We offered her the part, and then Chris Bauer from True Blood and The Wire, we offered him that part. Everyone else was cast. So they auditioned. You audition. So James Harrison, in fact, had an audition. I didn't flag it the first time around, and then our director, Pete Siegel is such a great director, directed, Anger Management, Get Smart, Tommy Boy. Directed, Nutty Professor sequels. He's done so much, and he was looking at the auditions. He's like, "Hey, James Harrison, the football player, his audition is fantastic. You should take another look at it." And sure enough, I saw it. I just couldn't believe it. He was just so natural.
Wow. When sticking on James Harrison, because I'm a huge Steelers fan. Obviously, I'm here in Pittsburgh, grew up here, and when I watched him on episode 1, man, it was believable. I'm like, man, that's believable. Like, I know that's James Harrison. But he just seems like, man, I could tell he's putting the work in as an actor, the same kind of work that he did as a Steeler. Do you see that from him?
I do. And I think that, we talked about this a little bit, to be good at what you guys do. It's not the same as, we're having a very casual conversation, but you've prepared for it. You have questions ready. There's not a lot of, Right. It's not the same as sitting around just letting a conversation unfold with friends. And why is that? Because you want it to be interesting and compelling. You want it to be concise. It's also not fun to hear somebody go, it isn't. And so you can be a very gregarious person and go into your field and still not understand that, okay, I've got to square up to the camera, and I have something I need to say, and it needs to be concise, and I have to really have thought about it, because the people watching at home want to know the importance of the game, or they want to be able to say, the moms and dads watching with the kid, did you hear what Sean Casey said about the player and why he had success or didn't have success? You take that away from you. it is, you're telling a story. You're always telling a story. So for James, again, we were joking about the fact that people start sentences with "again" and no one says again. Again, I mean, that's a little tick that I was even joking about before. Again, like you said, Sean. No one said, Sean should say, no, I didn't say that, Mike. Merely just pausing and collecting my thoughts. The thing that James did, he was able to relax in front of the camera. And you were talking about this earlier, slowing yourself down, being present. Being good at this job, what you're doing, and being good at acting is really listening. Yes. So sometimes we can be so anxious to get my line out. Oh, I've got a thought I want to say to that. Just be present. Just listen. Respond to that. And now we're having a compelling conversation because we're really telling a story about two people talking to one another and communicating with one another. And so James had a very natural affinity, I think, because he's a very good listener. I think acting is so much about listening.
Yeah.
Am I taking this in? What is this person trying to convey to me? And then oftentimes, you're going to go back after this conversation and you're going to look at movies and television differently because you'll see when someone's talking and then they cut. I'm always amazed whenever they cut away from me. I just think the camera should be on me. And we can presume that the person opposite me is reacting with my persuasive techniques have worked on them. That's what watch now when you watch a film about how the person listening. And sometimes, you don't have to be like, you just be like, I'm not going to show you whether or not I'm buying into whatever it is you're saying. So he just had a real natural affinity for acting, and he's a very good listener. James is I want to say he's a learner. He wants to get good at stuff. He's very disciplined. If you follow him on Instagram, he's like, you feel bad. I can't even do 40 crunches, and he's like at the gym. It's like he's already done. By the time I'm waking up at 8, he's already done 2 workouts and had 2 healthy meals. And so he, in an analogous to athletics, that discipline. Okay, you got to be at this meeting here. You got to do this. This is the play we want you to run, and I think it's a good thing for actors to realize, and especially in an ensemble. This is the play we're running today. You don't have so many lines in this scene. This scene, you have a lot of lines. Today, you just need there to be comedic support. Today, you need to be, a big brother to people, a mentor to people. What is the role that you're playing today? And do that as well. Do your job.
Yeah. Do your job. Well, I love.
Case, sorry, if you don't mind me asking, and because this just speaks to me what you just said specifically, because I've been behind the camera for my entire career, and this is the first time I've ever been in front of it. And literally every week, my wife texts me. She's like, "You're nodding too much. You're nodding too much." Number one, and the second thing she always says is, or I felt the hardest thing for me to do here is to do nothing. It's so hard to be in front of a camera and not like be a ham and all that. So I really appreciate those notes you meant there. But on the flip side, for you, talking about the relatability to athletes, like so for Sean, he's got 4 months to get his swing right and get ready, and then when he gets into the season, it's more like muscle memory. So you go on a show like Heels, and I don't know how much you knew about wrestling or not knew about wrestling, and how much time you had to run this show. How do you study? How do you practice? And how do you get ready so that the day you get on set for the first time, everybody looks at you and they think you know what you're doing,
Well, you have to really know what the story is that you're telling. So what I mean by that is, you write a scene where, the story that you're telling is that the main character, I'll just go to a scene early on in the first episode. The guy has a script that he needs to write for the show, and he has to make some decisions because everyone's waiting on those decisions. His wife also is singing at church that morning, would like for him to be at church, needs him to spend more time with the family, is not trying to nudge him so much, but just say, hey, look, you're working a lot. Your son misses you. I miss you. Come be with us. He's stressed out. So you have to be able to write and know what it is that you're going for in the scene. You don't want to start the show off with a couple that's arguing with one another, but anyone who's been in a relationship knows that. It's like, hey, I got to do this thing. And if you're always doing the thing that only one person wants, it's not really a relationship. And you don't want to start off this, you don't want to have a marriage that should be based in love and joy and connection and passion and great sex and all this other stuff that everybody aspires to. Yes, people understand that children then triangulate that energy sometimes. But anyone who has kids knows that if you have kids, what are you doing? You're having kids, meaning your kid, if you're a bad dad or a bad mom or a bad family person, it's going to radically impact someone. You have to have all of these things thought out. You have to have them peppered in throughout the scene, and you have to be able to speak to the actors about exactly what it is that they're playing. So you have to say to the lead actor, you have to say, you're not annoyed at your wife. You love your wife. And you have to you can deflect some of the criticism with the joke. That's why the jokes are in there. But at the end of the scene is over when you either, accede or agree to what it is that she wants, or it's been, or you don't. Written in this scene is you agree. And so the preparation, that's as the writer, because you have to be able to be very, very sure that when the director and the actors ask you questions, you know how to answer those things. And you're always looking for conflict too, right? So you're always looking for, how do I have a scene about conflict? Because that's what people pay attention to. They don't pay attention to a couple getting along. They're, you're walking down the street, you hear two people arguing. Hey, what the heck? That's the first thing you say. Then the second thing you say is, thank God it's not me. You know what I mean? You ever walking down the street and you see like a couple, like when the girl's in tears or the guy's in tears and they're on a stoop and they're clearly breaking up, and you're just like, oh God, there was the grace of God go I.
It's so true.
Never stand there want to be on a stoop in New York. Someone crying. Most of all, me. But then when you hear, so you're never turning your head when you hear people getting along, and so that's what hopefully good dramatic television is about. That you're watching characters go through things. There's consequences to their behavior or rewards to their behavior, and you think into yourself, okay, this is why, this is why I'm interested in this story. I've seen a character go through something. They struggled, and I can point to, I've felt that before. I've felt that in a marriage. I've felt that in a friendship. They've just articulated it in a way that I haven't heard articulated before, but now I feel a little less alone for having watched it, and I have a little bit more insight. That's my goal anyways.
Yeah.
As an actor, Sean said to me earlier today, luck is when opportunity meets preparation. I have never been nervous as an actor when I know all my lines. And I know what I'm doing. Never. I should amend that to say sometimes if there was a technical aspect to something where I wasn't, I didn't know if the blanks were going to go off. I'm old enough to remember when there was blanks, but something with a weapon that I had. I'm not a gun guy, so I haven't grown up with guns all my life. I wasn't. Am I going to look real when I shoot this gun or point this gun? There's a little bit of tentativeness there, but in terms of if you're an actor and you know your lines and you've worked on it, now you just get to go to work and play. If you don't, you're going to have a hard time because they're going to pick up on the fact you'll get through the day maybe, but it's going to be messy.
Interesting. Speaking of that, because I think it's one thing when you know your lines, know exactly what you're doing, you've prepared. When I watched this show, bro, I'm a huge wrestling fan, and I know I can't stand when people say, "Hey, wrestling's fake." I'm like, you know what? I got chopped by John Cena one time. I want to tell you right now, wrestling's not fake. Wrestling's not fake.
Wait, please tell the story about getting chopped by John Cena.
It's an unbelievable story. One night I was with the Red Sox, and Cena was living down in Tampa. And, we had gotten in touch, through a friend of ours. And I said, hey, man, do you want to come out and maybe have a couple beers and we'll hang out? So Cena comes to the team hotel and, you know, is with his fiance at the time and his brother-in-law, and they come sit down and we start to talk, and we talk about the Four Horsemen, and I'm like, man, I'm a big Arn Anderson fan, the Ole Anderson, Ric Flair, you know, going back to Tully Blanchard, and Cena's like, oh, and Cena starts talking. I'm like, this is one of the greatest times of my life, talking to John Cena about wrestling, right? So as the night goes on, we're having a good time, and I like, you know me, O'Malley, I'm like, you know what? I got one shot. When am I going to hang out with John Cena again and have a chop and have a chance to maybe give him a chop, right? So I'm like, so the night's ending, and I say to Cena, hey, John, you mind if I just hit you with a chop one time? And how do I do it? I was like, how do I do it? Do I hit you across the chest like Ric Flair, and I give you a woo and then woo, and I just hit you like 3-4 times, and it's a lot of fun, right? And he's like, okay. He's like, that sounds great. I'd love for you to chop me. I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, that'd be great. Now here's the deal. Here's the game we're gonna play. It's a great game. You hit me first. Chop me. He goes, chop me as hard as you can right here. He goes, and after you chop me, I get to chop you back. And I'm like,
no way I'd play that game. I'd say, you know what? I'm not interested in this game. Listen, okay, I thought this was a charity event where I get to hit you. I have paid at the live auction. I get to hit you, and you don't get to hit me. At that point right there, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna not play this game.
Well, that's what I should have done. 2020 hindsight, I should have done exactly that, but I didn't. What I did, O'Malley, I said, let's get it on, John. Right? So I back up. Cena's like the freaking absolute, he's like a brick wall. So I run up.
He's like that mythic figure, the Minotaur, you know?
Yeah, he really is. No, seriously, he's so big. So I run up and bam, I give him a chop, and I'm like, ah. I think I broke my hand. I was like, seriously, I was like, it hurts so bad. And then Cena looked at me like, all right, man, not bad. No, I don't even say not bad. He didn't say anything. I was like, I basically had no impact right there hitting John Cena, right? So he goes, all right, it's time for me to hit you. I'm like, all right, man. And I'm like, I'm pretty big at the time, pretty jacked for the Red Sox. He's like, he just stands there on Mal. He goes, bam. He hits me in the heart. I'm like, ah. I go down to the ground. I'm like, I think I'm having a heart attack. Like, I'm on the ground. Oh my God, my aorta's going to start to clog all 4 arteries. You know what I mean? So next thing I know, I'm with
a shot of adrenaline like in Pulp Fiction.
I was like, I would rather get Randy Johnson out there hit me with 101 of the ribs. I'd be like, before I ever get hit by John Cena ever again. So I'm with Tim Wakefield, and I hear Wakefield. Like, now I'm down on the ground. I think I'm dying, and no one's helping me. I was like, why is no one helping me? I hear Wakefield go, hey, I went in on that. And I was like, I couldn't talk, but I was trying to be like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Next thing I know.
You were like crumpled in a heap?
Oh, dude, crumbled down. Next thing I know, I hear Wakefield hit Cena, and I heard Cena. I couldn't look because it hurt. I was down, and Cena goes, good sound effects, not bad. And I'm like, oh my God, he is so screwed right now. It's gonna happen. Next thing I know, I hear, boom. Wakefield's down next to me, going, I'm like, dude, I told you should have. Next thing I know, John Cena starts chopping anything available. Jonathan and Avery looking. Boom. He chops him. He goes down. Jason Bay stands up. He starts chopping Bay. I get back up. He chops me again. I'm like, this is unbelievable. So when anyone says wrestling's not real, I say, oh, yeah? I've been chopped by John Cena, okay? It's real.
Case, I got to tell you, man, that could be the promo for our show right there. That's the thing about these guys, and that's what we want to do with heels. We want to honor the astounding feats of athleticism and strength, and look, it's a live stunt performance. That's what it is. These guys are unbelievable, men and women. They're unbelievable. All of what they can do. I wouldn't look, man. If I was to trip on trip in the street, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, I need a chiropractor. I need a sleep. Like, I can't. And these people are like flying off the ring and jumping on each other. It's crazy.
That's what I want to know watching this show, Mikey, is that like these actors that you have are such good athletes, and I can tell that they're doing their own stunts, right? They're coming off the top rope. And I liked on the first episode where they were practicing in the ring, and the guy came off the top rope and he landed it too close, and he's like, hey man, you got to land it with your body on the other side and land it with the elbow so I don't take the brunt of your body. Can you talk about that? Like, how did these guys, these actors, buy in to doing this?
I think that we had a great wrestling trainer, Luke Hawks, and Artie Molesky was the stunt coordinator. And both of these guys were really, really good at just showing they had an incredible team of guys how to do it. And look, we got lucky. Alexander, Stephen Amell, James Harrison, Trey Tucker, who plays Bobby Pin, Duke Roberts, who plays Big Jim, I think I said James, Alan Maldonado, who plays Rooster, and Robbie Ramos, who plays Diego. They all were in the gym every day. And so, oftentimes as an actor, you're on a show, you work 3 out of 7 days, and the other 4 days, you go to the gym or whatever, but it's your time. We only need you 3 days. On this show, during the pandemic we shot, they had to be in the gym, working out, learning how to wrestle. So they were, it was every day, all day, every day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, dude, I'm so excited for this show. Everyone that tunes in to our podcast, go get Heels on Stars. Go order Stars. Like I said, I don't know exactly what it costs, but it's not that much.
You get the Stars app. You can get the Stars app. Also, if you have Hulu or Amazon, you can get what's called a plug-in, which means you can just pay a little bit extra and you get the network on either Hulu or Amazon, so you can watch it just through that app, or you can subscribe to the network through your cable provider.
And
I sound like an or you can connect through your cable provider. Here's the different ways you can watch Stars. You can get it on Hulu, the add-on. You can get Amazon. You can get the Stars app, or you can get it through your cable or satellite provider.
I love it. O'Malley, I think the great thing about this show, because obviously you can tell I'm excited. I think for the wrestling fans out there, and there's tons of us. There's, you can tell by the ratings of WWE and all. The ratings have always been huge on WWE Raw, AEW now, King of the Ring. For all the wrestling fans out there, you're going to guaranteed to love the show. But for the fans people that aren't even wrestling fans, this is such a well done show. So many good actors, so much great character development. I think that's what excites me about Heels.
Well, Case, thank you so much. We really want to show what it's like behind the scenes about how a wrestling promotion comes together. People have ambitions about how to do it and how it all works. It's not, it is not at the level of the WWE because they're not there yet. So It's really just about a small-time group of people who have big dreams and they're trying to make it work, and they take it very, very seriously.
Yeah, that's awesome. O'Malley, before we go, we have this thing we do, 9 and 90. Chich, why don't you explain what it is?
Yeah, it's the worst explanation I ever give, but it's really just this or that questions. I ask Sean first, he answers, you just pick it up right after him.
All right, got it.
And they're very stupid. So,
I answer the question after Sean answers it.
Yes.
There we go. All right, real quick, here we go. First one. If you could master one of these instruments, which would it be? Piano or guitar, Sean?
Guitar, 100% guitar, because then you can go by the fire with your buddies and start ripping them.
Guitar.
Yeah.
There you go. Have you ever actually said yes, dear, to a significant other?
Yes, dear.
Yes, probably, and didn't realize I was doing it. Yes.
Who would you have a better chance of defeating in a fight? 1 gorilla or 5 chimpanzees?
Oh man, 1 gorilla. If I could go for the nut shot.
Yeah.
Right.
I was gonna say, if it was a gorilla and I had a gun.
There you go. Better Tom Hanks role, Big or Forrest Gump?
I love him in Forrest Gump. I think Forrest Gump is the role we all like. That's unbelievable.
Okay.
I'd say Big. I liked him in Big.
Wow. Nice. All right. TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, or none of the above?
I like Instagram. Did you say Instagram? Is that one of them?
That was one.
Yeah, I like Instagram.
All right.
I like Facebook because I'm connected to friends from high school and college I would never be connected with had I not been on
I like that too. All right, in your next life, would you rather choose to come back as a famous painter, or B, a famous architect?
Famous architect, because I could build something cool. They'd be like, look what Case did. It's a great building right there.
Well, a famous architect. I mean, maybe I was just introduced to the Towering Inferno and Paul Newman, all those people leaping from a towering building that made me fear architecture. But a famous painter. Just that's such a lonely lifestyle. Yeah, I'd probably architect.
All right.
Architects, kind of like being a showrunner. It's like I got some.
There you go.
Like, you guys all make it look great.
All right.
No, I don't like how you did that. Do it again.
All right. Were you born on Halloween? Is that correct, Mike?
I was.
This is one of the questions. Okay, so this is a good question for you. Best horror movie character: Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees.
I think Freddy Krueger used to scare me so bad. I had sleepless nights as a kid just to stay. I was at insomnia for Freddy Krueger coming out of the boiler room I didn't have down in my basement, just coming up to my room to get me.
Yeah, I mean, Freddy Krueger, I agree with you. It's like the other guys, it's kind of like, hidden behind the mask, and it just, Freddy was just like, what, why are you so evil? I mean, I sort of didn't understand. I could go back and watch those. What is the origin story of what made Freddy Krueger so upset?
Didn't he get burned? He got burned or something. He's like,
why? He's like a pedophile. That's why they burned
him.
So
I'm gonna put a freaking 7 knives on my hand and just start killing people.
I have no empathy for the burnt pedophile.
There you go. Biggest Boston legend: Larry Bird, Tom Brady, Big Papi, or Bobby Orr?
Oh, wow. I'm gonna have to say Tom Brady. I think he's the greatest, maybe the greatest athlete of all time with 7 rings. So I'm going with Brady.
Okay, Mr. Mass.
I think between Brady and Papi, I would have to say that the emotion, having grown up there, the emotional investment in the Boston Red Sox, the pain of never having won it, and the pressure every year. I was at the game when Ortiz hit the game-winning home run, Game 4 in the ALCS. I was, I don't know, man. You couldn't have done any of that without Papi. And I agree, Brady. I mean, I think they're A and A. But for me, and Tom Brady has brought so much, joy to my life, just being able to root for this guy and be a fan of his for 20 years. I don't know. I'd probably say David Ortiz. Yeah. Just because I am a massive Red Sox fan.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm a massive Patriots fan, but God, it was just the Patriots didn't break your heart like the Red Sox did.
All right,
and I'm sorry, and Papi just with the clutch hits in 04, 07, and 2013, he hit 700.
It never stopped. It never stopped. How are they even why aren't they just walking him?
Right. Yeah. Why are you pitching to this guy? He's going to hit a rocket in the gap. Okay. I just want to tell you what's going to happen.
Over and over and over again.
Yeah. Crazy.
Amazing. All right. Last one. This was deep. This one's deep. I don't know if Case can handle this one. You could have lunch with one celebrity, dead or alive. Who is it?
Lunch with one celebrity, dead or alive. I'd like to have lunch with Babe Ruth.
I would like to have lunch with William Shakespeare.
Wow, I like that.
How did you write all those plays, man?
Seriously, how did you do it?
Whose ideas did you steal? Who was on your payroll that wasn't getting credit? No.
I love it. Nice. I love it. All right, O'Malley. Thanks a lot, brother. This has been so great. Can't wait to see you here soon at some point. I'm sure we'll cross paths. Come out to Pittsburgh and see me at some point if you can, brother. Love
you guys, man. It was great talking.
Thanks so much, man.
Great interview. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks.
Okay, right. Mikey. See you, brother. Thanks so much, man.
I'll see you soon.
Okay, brother.
Right. That was awesome, man. That's so cool. You're such a big-time celebrity guy. You have all these friends with you and everything.
Oh, it's so great. O'Malley's such a great guy, man. It was just a great interview. Good friend of mine. I've been trying to get him out here to Pittsburgh for years.
Yes, man.
I just, you know what? It had been so long since I'd seen that. I decided to come out. So that's it.
That's
all right?
Scotty B.
All right, we'll see you guys later. All right, see you. Listen, I got to get back to Los Angeles.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Now that's a real friend. Scotty
That's how you
beat
end
me
the
up.
show. That's how you end the show.
I love it,
Awesome job,
brother.
dude.
I love it. All right,
Thanks,
man.
bro.
See you,
No,
Chichi.
thanks. You guys are the best.
Great show, brother. I'll talk to you.
All right.
See you next time. Hey, everybody out there, we appreciate you joining on at Spotify, Apple, NoFilter.net, YouTube, everything. We're very grateful you guys are tuning in. We see the numbers going up, and we just want to say thanks so much, and we will see you guys next week. Thank you. See you, brother.
Yeah, bro.
Love you, man.